When last we left our intrepid heroes, the characters fought some fishmen as they traveled across the inland sea towards Sylvias Rest, and Akai finds out that the old wives' tale that says Mantuthians cannot drown in the inland sea is true. As they walk from the port towards the small keep, they pass through the village. Seraph notices black bunting on the doors and the windows of many of the buildings. Marcus says that it means that someone important has died. The paladin calls to one of the constables making his rounds. He asks him why the village is in mourning. The constable tells him that the wife of the Jacana has died more than a fortnight ago, giving birth to the Jacanis' daughter. Marcus and Kebradain discuss this as they walk. The Jacana, or king, is Jun Seolon, and he is the rightful heir to the Deseradan throne. His parents were killed by assassins, but the killers didn't know that Jun was away from the castle that night and accidentally killed another boy instead. Jun was forced into hiding, and by the time it was safe to come back, Destari was firmly entrenched, and Jun was treated as a usurper. As the party continues up towards the keep, a squadron of southern Deseradan cavalry come down to meet them. One of them is Jacana Jun's right-hand man, Aaron Vel. He's the new leader of the southern Deseradan army. Aaron is happy to see Marcus, and they hug, and Marcus introduces Paladin Henry. As they walk back, Aaron good-naturedly scolds Marcus for leaving the siege of Fortress Lament. Marcus snaps at him, saying that he had a job to do that was more important. It was more important to complete the quest. Marcus says that once he's delivered his report and spent some time with his wife Tanis, he will sail back to Lament. Aaron smiles and tells Marcus that they heard about the siege, and that he has been charged with leading a force of 2,000 men to sail across the inland sea to break it. He says that there is a spot for Marcus to go with them, if he wants it. At the keep, they make their report directly to Jacana Jun. During the audience, Jun treats them rather coolly as they retell of their adventures. Marcus hands over the letters sent by Kenna Susan from Stephen's Hold. He keeps back the marriage proposal from Hallister, since it's a private affair of Estryella's family. Jun collects himself and apologizes for being so curt. He tells them that a dinner has been arranged in their honor this evening. He prepares documents so the characters can be outfitted in more civilized clothes. The characters are dismissed for the rest of the afternoon. The party splits up. Estryellia and Scala spend most of the day buying new clothes for the party, since they've been living in their current clothes through swamps and various battles. Akai goes to the local Mantuthian house to meet with the mother that controls it. Usually, a mother of a Mantuthian hearth is an older woman who takes audience laying on a couch and pretending to be bored. The mother of this house, though, is a young girl, barely 8. There is a red glow to her eyes, which speaks to Akai that there is some sorcery afoot. The mother tells Akai that the hearth has to live amongst humans, and to make it easier, they've all given up their connection with the old religion. She says that Akai should refrain from practicing the old religion as well while in Sylvias Rest. Back at the inn, Akai decides to do some old religion communing with the goddess. She gets a pot of boiling water ready and then drops her ceremonial shark's tooth into it. She reaches into the scalding pot and screams her question for the goddess. The question is, am I the last priestess of old Marcia? The answer, written on her arm, is no. Akai is left to ponder that answer in her room. Marcus and Paladin Henry head over to the Chaldite temple to surprise his wife Tanis that he's back. They're disappointed to find out that she's gone on a short excursion out of town and is not expected to return for several days. Saddened, Marcus gives Henry a tour of the small temple, which was built during the initial assault into Sadaqadish 100 or so years ago. It is small and built like a fortified manor. They take some time to spar with each other. The contest comes up as a tie. Lissa and Seraph get a room at the inn. Later, she and Seraph wander about the inn. Lissa asks many questions of the owner. When Seraph asks her why she's asking so many questions, Lissa tells him that this is a growing town. This inn is at a good spot on the road. If it can be purchased, it should make a handy profit. She asks Seraph how much money he has. The characters arrive at the dinner party. Several notables are there. Estryellia is reunited with her older stepbrother, Samis, who is a Sadaqadishian warrior. He feels that it's his job to keep the men away from her, even Paladin Henry. This does not amuse Estryellia. The Jacana mingles with his guests after the meal and is still wearing his mourning sash, but seems to become more himself as he talks with the party. He listens to the highlights of their adventures. It's obvious he wishes he was traveling with Marcus and the party again. June mentions to Estryellia that both her father and mother are in the town. When he last saw her mother, Morgan, she had a flock of new Novit priestesses in tow. Her father, he says, is supposed to be here at the dinner, but begged off, saying that duty calls. Marcus and Henry get some time with Jun. Before his parents were killed, Jun was a paladin initiate with the Chaldite Church. The two paladins talk to Jun about losing his wife. Even though the wound is fresh, talking with Marcus, who has also experienced huge losses in the past, helps the young man. Henry leaves to go for a walk. Kerberdane notices the sorceress Estelle is at the party. She is from a different guild from his, but has been a friend in the past. Kerberdane introduces her to Scala because Estelle is one of the only living mages besides his own master who has studied ring lore, and maybe she can help Scala with the problem of being under the grasp of the dragon ring. As they're chatting, Kerberdane sees Estrellia's mother, Morgan, enter, along with 3 Novit priestesses. Estryellia reunites with her mother, and they have polite conversation. Morgan informs her daughter that she will be going back to Sarath with Estelle, back to the Mages Guild. Estryellia starts to argue when her teacher Estelle comes over and informs her that there is much she still needs to learn. Estelle says that her boat, the Eagle, is preparing to sail in the morning, and she should say her goodbyes and then go down to the ship and wait for her. It's obvious that Estryellia wants to argue, but she has been trained not to question her teacher, and she does as she is told. Later, with tears in her eyes, she is walking towards the docks. She doesn't notice she walked past Paladin Henry. Henry follows her, and he notices that she has stopped to talk to an older, strange man sitting on the communal fountain, cutting up a turnip and eating it. The man is a northerner, but wearing red Sadaqadishian silk robes. Paladin Henry jumps in to defend her honor. He steps in and tells the man that strangers shouldn't just talk to unescorted girls. Estryellia smiles and tells the older man that this is the person she talked to her mother about. This is Paladin Henry. The northern man stands up and introduces himself as the Peace Lord of Red, Estrellia's father. Henry makes apologies and does a quick fade. Apparently, the paladin can face a horde of orcs, but not the father of a possible girlfriend. Later that evening, Priestess Morgan calls Marcus, Scala, and Kebradain aside. She takes them to her room in the fortress. She thanks them for taking good care of Estryellia on the adventure, but says that she has a very difficult assignment given to her by the Holy Lady Chaldicea. Morgan pulls a blood-stained bag from out of her closet and places it on the table. When she unwraps it, they see a woman's severed head. The eyes flicker open and look at Marcus, and he immediately knows whose head it is. Next time, the party comes to grips with the identity of the severed head, and Marcus comes to grips that he may not be the last paladin of Chaldicea.